Welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live music channel. My name is Chris Au, and I have with me the co-founder of Virtual Concert Halls, Dr. Anna Ouspenskaya.
Hello, everyone. Here, Chris. Thank you very much for joining for this wonderful program. I'm very much looking forward to the development of the next section.
Yeah, me as well. And we'll be your host for today's show, which is the third part of the documentary of Beethoven's Symphony No. 3, written and narrated by Lawrence Repchak, created by New Media Productions worldwide and Virtual Concert Halls, and produced by the Architects of Music.
We're so grateful for this ongoing collaboration, which has been made possible because we all share a tremendous passion for bringing musicians and audiences together and producing these programs for everyone to see in the world and in the globe.
And the central development section now is also greatly expanded, not only in its length, but in its character and its design. It's like a grand fantasia, a movement unto itself. And I will focus on a few of its more astonishing moments. The development begins mysteriously, rather dark and ominous, with a variant of the triad theme, like so. And we move into C major, and we hear the first of those three linking themes, the gentle one. With that all-important rhythm that I've mentioned. Then there's an episode with the third linking theme, the tempestuous one, with the cellos and basses playing the main theme in the minor key. Now, as we move deeper into the dramatic heart of this movement, Beethoven takes that first linking theme, the gentle one, and he extracts only the rhythm. Dum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum, ba. And he uses this rhythm to drive what lies ahead. And this is very striking, what he's done here. The pitches are much less important now, much less important than the rhythm. And this rhythm, dum, bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum, will function almost like an element of nature. And Schoenberg and friends would adopt this device 100 years later. They called it the Hauptrhythm, or the main rhythm. They often wrote a piece or a scene of the opera Wozzeck, for instance, or Berg's violin concerto or whatnot, with a Hauptrhythm, a motive that was strictly a rhythm. And Beethoven does the same thing here 100 years earlier. First, he starts with a brief fugal passage based on this rhythm. Here is this miniature fugue, and listen to where it leads. The music is in turmoil. We've been led far afield from our tonic E-flat major into something resembling A minor. And with those diminished chords, the hallmark of dramatic intensity you hear in the 19th century. But it's this new rhythm. Here is the rhythm I've been talking about. Beethoven uses it simply with octaves. There's the rhythm. The pitches aren't really important, but it's thrown the music into a state of chaos. And the hemiola rhythm now also returns. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. The octaves, and there's no way to stop it now. The boundaries of harmony and rhythm have burst, and the full force of Beethoven's visionary powers have been released. And that shocking music that I passed off as Schoenberg earlier in this episode, it is coming up with this chord. A series of relentless, grinding blows. Our rhythmic mooring is blown away, and we are left hurtling through the void. Comparison between this music and the music of Arnold Schoenberg is not at all unreasonable. 100 years later, the goal of the Second Viennese School to break down the traditional order of musical language had been set in motion in 1803 by Beethoven. And this Fantasia development section now continues, now with a completely new theme which appears out of nowhere. Actually, well, it appears out of Beethoven's imagination, of course. It is a plaintive and very soulful theme in its intensity. Theme there returns in C major. Now, the appearance of a totally new theme in a sonata's development section was not a totally new idea. Haydn's Farewell Symphony, is number 45, was one past example. But the effect here, this haunting new melody appearing out of the ashes, as it were, of the preceding collapse, is remarkable. And think of the architectural plan here, the layout, how each of these clearly delineated sections or events, how they all function in Beethoven's design and his vision, which is always reaching further into the musical unknown, and which is about to reach its height. And after a passage that builds now on the main triad in its normal rhythm, okay, combined underneath with a hemiola version of the triad in the bass. We now arrive in the key of C flat major, which is not too distant from our tonic E flat. And Beethoven will now begin to set up the return of the tonic key for the big recapitulation which is coming. Beethoven takes that upward triad of the theme. Okay, he uses it. It's a little cell. It's an element of nature, as it were. Here's how he handles this passage. Here's the motive. Diminished chord. Here it is. He isolates it. He compresses it. Here. He deconstructs it. There's just a bare outline now of the harmonies, and there's tension, there's hushed expectation. We have only this tremulous whisper in the violins. And just these two notes, the barest possible outline of this chord, right? The B flat, the seventh, the dominant chord. We know it must resolve to the tonic. That ancient law of tonal music now is drifting somewhere in the void with these two notes fluttering in the violins, and then it comes. In the second French horn, the main theme, distant but still heroic in character. And the orchestra sweeps. Wait. What just happened? Wait, what happened here? This. What's this? The dominant chord, which is clearly outlined here, right? It has not yet resolved to the tonic when the horn enters, which is in the... Every tenet of tonal natural law says that this is correct. Yes? consonance. That's resolution. That's order. Not this. It hasn't resolved yet to this. But we get this. It's an infinitesimal but profound disturbance in the harmonic resonance of the universe. What, in a violin section and the second French horn doing this? It's an absolutely stunning historic moment. And Beethoven's friend, Ferdinand Ries, we encountered him earlier. He was standing beside Beethoven at the very first rehearsal of this piece when they came to this section. And Ries wrote, he said, quote, "At the first rehearsal, which was horrible, but at which the horn player made his entrance correctly, and thinking that a blunder had been made, I said to Beethoven, 'Can't that damned hornist count? It sounds infamously false.' I think I came pretty close to receiving a box on the ear from Beethoven, who did not forgive that slip for a long time." Amazing. That's an actual documentation of the first time this was heard. And Ferdinand Ries, whom we've met, as I've said, he was also a composer. And so, who knows, maybe at some future episode we'll examine some of Ries's pieces. No, maybe not. Maybe not. At any rate, this is clearly a major part of Beethoven's design, because after all of this cosmic upheaval we've had, we've just come through it, things are still somewhat out of sync in a way. These two dimensions, they are slightly misaligned for a split second. And the massive sound then that comes in from the full orchestra sweeps it all away and restores order. Here is this entire passage. If you cough, you'll miss this little thing because it's so incredibly soft. Here it is.
Two geniuses at work. Bravo. That's two brilliant people. Who are we to just make any comments after that? I mean, we should just get everybody to rewatch that.
Recap that.
Let's just run it again, because there's not much we can add except just how brilliant. I didn't realize that was part of it. And I think these false entries, we get desensitized, I think. We have all these kind of false entries all the time where either even in Mozart music or for humor effects. Even in, when we play fugues and Bach adds these sort of false entries, I think we get desensitized. But it's actually really brilliant, and to the point where Ferdinand Ries thought it was a mistake, which I thought was just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, this was just such a great find. I didn't know that happened at the rehearsal, at the first rehearsal of the symphony. Larry is just brilliant. How he digs up those facts from the history. It's so fun.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, maybe one day we'll look into Ries's pieces," and then boom, that was awesome.
Maybe not.
What a joke! Oh, awesome. Yeah, it really makes you think about how, like, as we mentioned last episode, for those who may be watching kind of in consecutive order, we mentioned how Beethoven really puts in a lot of effort, I think, to mix it up, to give shocking, surprising elements into his music, to make the audience almost confused or kind of puzzled as to what's going to happen next. After all this fanfare, and I think after all this fanfare, we kind of expect that the re-entry of this triumphant fanfare would be a little bit different, but it's completely unexpected. He has all these explosions of material, this plaintive motif that makes you feel like, oh, there's something mournful and sort of lamenting, and then the way he brings back the theme is completely unexpected.
Yep. That the surprise, and just like Larry Babchak pointed out, Beethoven's imagination is absolutely brilliant and boundless. And then he has developed by that time, already in his professional career, a tremendous arsenal of putting his imagination into the actual real notes of the music, and to create the effect he wants with the precision of a brain surgeon.
Yeah, and to think, like, I reckon if Beethoven passed away mysteriously after writing his third symphony, he would still be treated as like a genius. And how amazing is it that we actually get, 6 more symphonies after this? That's astounding. And because this already highlights in his earlier years what devices, like you said, this arsenal of different elements he uses to throw us off guard, but also to create such tension, to really use harmony in a very unexpected way. And it's true, like even if you play on the piano right now, if you have this fluttering B flat 7 and you start playing the main theme in E flat major, it's off, it's wrong, it sounds really out of place.
Yeah, it's not just wrong, it's just juxtaposition of conflicting harmonies. Like I like that quote from Larry: boundary of harmony and rhythm burst. It did in Beethoven's writing. Granted, he's not the only composer who has done it, and he's not the very first composer who has done it. There are juxtaposition of dominant and tonic even in Bach's writing. Those are highlights. Those are like peak of genius when they're placed in just the right position. But the position also of that, and the humbleness of that main heroic motive coming from very distant sounding fog in the air with that flattering violin, and the briefness of it. Just like if you just stop watching closely or listening closely to what's happening for a split moment, or you blink, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the magic also of Beethoven drawing you into his composition, into the symphony fully and completely. Because at least I feel like if I blink, I'm going to miss something extraordinary in there. So I just listened with full intensity.
Yeah. So I obviously this is a conversation, for a different time but how does one listen to, because I'm thinking a lot about this. This was written before we have these composers later on. Let's give a name like Bruckner or Richard Wagner, where the symphony has become a much larger piece, or even art has become this much longer journey, and surprises are different in a different way. There's not as much of these, and the chromaticism has been stretched to its border and brink. I wonder, like, Dr. Anna, when how are we supposed to listen to these pieces of music that kind of almost drag on for a little bit and require so much focus and attention, when even Beethoven didn't really expect that from his audience? Like, how do we reconcile these two things? How do we reconcile the fact that when Beethoven wrote something, it was like this, as we saw, but then later on, composers who are great in their own ways are writing symphonies where you're almost tested, to kind of hang in there. And after a while, maybe a few listenings, like there are people who are religiously going to hear the Ring by like Wagner's Ring, a cycle. It's incredible. And so how do we reconcile these two ends, I guess, of the listening spectrum?
That's a very good question, Chris, and it's not just a question, it's even a huge topic which is essential to people engaged in many aspects of, let's say, world of music creation.
Yeah.
Because it's very relevant to composers, to all other industries which engage newly written music or engage music in period, and performers and everyone who has anything to do with creating music. It's essential. How do you build a relationship with your audience when there's so much shock and awe had been already created, and pretty much like you were saying earlier, desensitizes the senses. And on one hand, people come to a musical event or whatever experience, whether it's in person or not, expecting to be shocked and awed, and at the same time already had been through so many of those turmoils in the previous experience. Why would people even come back for another one? Or when they do, what it is, how do you engage with them? And I think part of it, I don't know, it's not a universal answer, it's just a small answer. Part of it is each musical journey unfolds in the real time. So in that real time, that's the event which is happening. So whether it's a composition which someone is creating today for the future stage, or it's a performance of that composition or a composition written 500 years ago, it doesn't matter. It needs to be, I think, approached as a musical event of this moment. And in this moment, the story needs to be engaging, and it needs to be very authentic. Then the audience, me as an audience, when I engage, I prefer to just focus on listening to that story in that moment, as opposed to trying to elevate myself as a all-knowing judge and comparing it to something else, because comparing and all of that's another experience, but the true experience of music is a story which is being told in the moment, and how you engage in that story is probably the richest form of experience, because if you just go with an open dialogue, with expecting an open dialogue with that music right now, then you can cut through all the noise to the core principle of what music is about, to tell the emotional story.
Producers, we need to clip that. That was an excellent soundbite, everyone.
Oh, thank
That
you.
was a fantastic answer. Yeah, I truly, that's amazing. Yeah, because if you do compare different spectrums and different music throughout the ages, then there's just too much noise, as you say. But to really accept the music as a you said it best. You said it as a soundbite within this moment, and to actually appreciate an event happening. I think that's amazing, and I think that's the value of live music, of true live performance, is that capturing of something happening in the process of time. That we're blessed to have, whilst we are alive. And so, wow, that was a great answer.
That was a great question, Chris. Thank you.
I think we should cut that as a soundbite for our future. Anytime you need to question why we're doing music, why are we doing art at all? Why is this important? When there's so many recordings out there, this is a really valid answer. And with that, I think it's best we leave it at that to be continued, because that was brilliant, Dr. Anna. Three geniuses, everybody.
And the genius of creating a question. Thank you, Chris.
And thank you to our team and collaborators who have put all this together for us to enjoy, Dr. Anna and I, but also for you, our audience. This includes New Media Productions, Virtual Concert Halls, Architects of Music, Lara Repchak, and the team you see on the screen.
And thank you all to our incredible collaborators and sponsors and supporters who had been going through this journey with us for the past 6 years, or just coming on board and joining this movement led by professional musicians to create the space for immediate interaction and collaboration. Thank you all very much for your incredible input into creating and continuation of these programs. And please check out what we're doing on those platforms. We are streaming on just about every major streaming platform, which allows the live programs to be presented there, as well as many collaborative curated websites in many different countries. And we are very grateful for our growing network of presenting our programs to audiences in different parts of the world. And please check out our ongoing Music and Musicians Around the Globe MAG programming. It's a daily live show. We present artists, concerts, educational and music and film projects, and we are very interested in you joining our movement. And if you'd like to be featured on our shows, please get in touch. If you have an idea which you always thought was too great to be true, or no, I meant to, if you wanted your idea to be presented to people and we're not sure how to get about it, get in touch with us. We have a large community of people who also started their projects together with us. And for our all current future events, recording opportunities, performance opportunities, and many other projects are ongoing in our sphere, in our environment, go and visit our websites. We keep updating them. There's a lot of information in there, so it's going to test your short attention span to some degree.
Yes.
But don't give up. You might find something which suits you in a good way. So we welcome everyone.
Yes, and thank you for joining us today. With that, we'll see you next time for part 4 of our Beethoven 3 documentary series. See you next time.
See you.